We have a Crystal Beast deck that got 45th place out of the YCS. We have one of the Runick list, and we have that, remember that Clown Duelist that we mentioned the other day? We have what appears to be the memeiest Yu-Gi-Oh deck that I've seen of the year. Hey guys, make sure you smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. The first deck we're going to be looking at here is none other than a Crystal Beast deck. Now this did barely miss out on Top Cut, which is actually kind of a real shame out of the Sydney YCS. But I still wanted to cover and mention this today because, you know, Conclave Control has been like the go-to monster for this deck, right? Like every iteration, every form of this deck has kind of evolved and definitely had its dominance because of this card. So this is yeah, good stuff. So we have one Cobalt Eagle with two Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon, one Ruby Carbuncle with triple Sapphire Pegasus. We have triple Dimension Shifter and triple copies of Fenrir. Yes, you do kind of need this self-recruiting monster, and specific answers is always pretty good. We have one Rainbow Dragon, triple Awakening of the Crystal Ultimates, two Crystal Bond with two-dimensional fissure. We have two Foolish Burial Goods with two Necrovelli, triple Pot of Prosperity, triple Rainbow Bridge with triple copies of Rainbow Bridge of the Heart. We have triple Talents with triple copies of Crystal Conclave, two copies of Crystal Miracle, and one Rainbow Bridge of Salvation. Down in the next deck, we got one Win, one copy of Dahark, one copy of Barricade Bark Blocker with one Shakanine with one Borbo. We have one Ptolemaeus with one Trever. Then we have one Constellar Knight Diamond. Then we have one Utopia Lightning with one Dugaris, one Baguski. Then we have one Utopia, one Lightning Chidori, one Gaga Cowboy, and one Sky Thunder Arsenal Zeus. And we have two we have two Cosmic Cyclones, two Dark Lunomors, one extra Foolish Burial Goods. It's actually going to come in handy for if you start to feel like you're going to need kind of up some of the answers in your deck. We have one Arby's Feather Duster, two Lightning Storm, one Secret Village, one Zombie World, triple Evenly Matched, and two copies of There Can Only Be One here, wrapping up one of the way more interesting takes out here that I have seen as of late for the Crystal Beast good stuff. Very, very good. Next up here we have Runick. Now, you know how much of a giant fanboy I am for this deck, right? Every time I can see this deck show up in some sort of crazy iteration shift, it's always amazing. Now, this one is relying on the Majesty's Fiend here, because getting this on the field isn't going to be hard. Any Runick spell card here puts a body on the field for you to be able to distribute over for this. I mean, other people rely on the Amano Awado to kind of establish on the field and try to get things done, but 2400 is going to be a lot more intimidating at the end of the day here, just because of this being a huge powerhouse. We have triple copies of Majesty's Fiend, one card Demise with triple copies of Messenger Peace. We have two copies of Pot of Desires with triple copies of Pot of Duality. So yes, you are seeing the dualities here with the card Demises. We're also playing triple copies of Runick Destruction, triple copies of Runick Flashing Fire, triple copies of the Runick Fountain with triple copies of Freezing Curses, only one Golden Droplet. As much as I love this card for it forcing your opponent to get extra value, basically them drawing the one card is not really worth it. We have triple copies of Runick Slumber, we have the one Smiting Storm, triple copies of Runick Tip, and then we have two Goes in Match, triple Rivalry of the Warlords here, and then triple copies of There Can Only Be One here, wrapping up your main deck. Down in the extra deck, we have two copies of Nightmare Phoenix with one Gravity Controller, triple copies of Moonin, triple copies of Hugin, triple copies of Gary, and triple copies of Freki. And then we have one copy of Amano Awado, triple copies of Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood, triple Big Ball, two Dimensional Fissure, triple Dark Bribe, and triple copies of Solemn Judgment here, wrapping up this list. Now, you're definitely going to notice the Messenger pieces carried over from the last YCS. And like this card, you know, losing Mystic Mine really sucks, but I mean, like, this is definitely like the big carry here for this. You know, looking at some of like the OCG transitions that they've had, I mean, like Amano Awado versus this for the metagame shifts. Nobody's really playing Dark Rule no more right now, so this just kind of gets a free, you know, chance to come on into the metagame and do its thing. You do love to see it. Next up here is another Sword Soul list. Now, we covered another Sword Soul list this morning where you got the chance to see just the cutback on the 10E package. They just gutted out the 10E package and kind of changed the way that the build played. Now, that other build also focused on instant fusion, where you could play the Magic Key monster and effectively turn any of your Bysteals with that Magic Key level 4 tuner into, you know, a Baron de Floor down here. And that's kind of important. Now, for this build, I mean, we're still playing 7 10Es, so you're still going to be kind of taking advantage of that. It also gives you access to the Monks and the Shaman of the 10E plays that you're a lot lot more used to playing. Plus, I mean, if these get milled off by, you know, Shizu cards, your opponent's going to have to kind of stare at these and go, oh, you know, am I going to have to deal with this? The answer is probably. So we have triple copies of Drosworm with triple copies of Magna Hut and one Saronir. It's kind of sad that we've had to go down this path, but it makes sense. We have one Destrudo. We have 2 copies of Effect Veiler with triple copies of Incredible Ecclesia. We have triple copies of Maui, 2 copies of Taya, and then we have triple copies of Long Dong Yun. Then we have 2 copies of Ara Ara, triple copies of Ashuna, and 2 copies of Vishuda. Then we have triple copies of Forbidden Droplet with 2 copies of Pot of Desires. We have triple copies of Swordsoul Emergence, triple copies of Infinite Permanence, and 1 copy of Blackout. Then you got 1 Shaman of the Tenyi, 2 Monk of the Tenyi with 1 Dahark. We have 1 Wollo, 1 Yazi with 1 Chengying. We have 1 Qingxing Longyun, 2 copies of Chiza, 1 Draco Berserker, 2 Boxia, 1 copy of Baron, and 1 Dragite. Then our side deck here is triple Space Rock, 1 Scattershot with triple copies of Lightning Storm, 2 copies of Talents, triple Light or Anti-Scan Fragrance, and triple copies of Evenly Matched here, wrapping up your little different approach here to Sword Soul. And I think, you know, once you kind of get that diversity and things kind of shifting around here, you will like these differences. All right, now I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm sick about talking about tier elements. Like every single video I have to talk about this deck in mass wears me down, but this build genuinely caught my attention because you don't see a lot of people really looking at the Shaddoll package in this deck. Honestly, in my personal opinion, a lot of people kind of forgot that Shaddoll cards exist, and we know how good Winda is as a card. Like, let's not be ignorant here for a second. We know this card's stupid. We know that this card gets you free chicken nugget wins when it comes up. So it was actually kind of cool to see that this deck made top 8 out here, where you actually get to see the value of Shaddoll Fusion actually be a monster out here, which was actually pretty cool. So we have 1 copy of Vegito with 1 Drosworm. We have 1 Herald of Orange Light with triple copies of Kelbeck. We have triple copies of Keldo with 2 copies of Mudora. We have 1 Shaddoll Beast with 1 Shaddoll Hedgehog. We have triple copies of Havnus, 2 Merly, 2 Reno Heart, and triple copies of Shea Rin. We have triple copies of Forbidden Droplet, 1 Instant Fusion, triple Paralineo, triple Shaddoll Fusion, triple Super Poly, 1 Heartbeat, 1 Screech, 1 Terraforming, and 1 Solic. Then you have 1 Underworld Goddess, 1 Sprint with 1 Elf, 1 Dahark with 1 Time Thief Reader, 1 Zeus with 1 Abyss Dweller. Then we have 1 Rukalos with 1 Kit Gallos, 1 Kaleido Heart, 1 Draco's Tapelia Friend, 1 Mud Dragon, 1 Garuda, 1 El Shaddoll Winda, and 1 Shekinah. Yeah, Shekinah actually getting some value out here. Then we have triple copies of Gamma with 1 Psyframe Driver. We have 1 Baguski with 1 Call by the Grave, triple copies of Cosmic Cyclone, triple copies of Dark Ruler No More, 1 Harpy's Feather Duster, 1 copy of Twin Twisters, and 1 copy of Crime here. Wrapping up another Tier Elements fusion-based deck. No Dark World Monster, no copies of King of the Swamp. I would say that this is actually probably one of the cooler, more recent innovations we have. Now we're going to pass on over so you can look at an absolute legend. Now the list that you actually see up here on your screen, this is going to be from the Clown Duelist that I mentioned the other day in the video with Jesse Cotton. They reached out to me and said, well, Robbie, I technically didn't play Hungry Burger. And I was like, you didn't play Hungry Burger Turbo? Well, this was a deck that was actually built by their audience to play for the event. Now, if you know, we've done deck build challenges on this channel before to try to get as many wins as we can. But this pile is an absolute craziness here. The Doku Rider and the Doku Rider Ritual, I think, were probably some of the biggest things that this duel has had a hard chance probably picking up here. But honestly, I always love the chance to see some of these meme decks actually get off the ground. Now, as far as I know, there were no real wins for this deck, which is actually kind of a shame at the end of the day, because some of the meme challenges we've done, we've been able to pull off a win or two at the end of the day. But I love the chance to see things like this actually get the chance to shine out here. So as for a good little wrap up to YCS Sydney here, everything that I've seen out of this YCS, very tier oriented, very, 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 very pain in the butt event, at least to kind of cover in terms of everything's tier elements. But I think that it is kind of nice to see something like this. Man, this deck even played the Inexperienced Spy. That is absolutely amazing. So remember, there still is fun in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! You might not realize it, but things like this definitely challenge people's skills, and I think that's a good thing. So, What do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.